Wednesday, September 16, 2020, and welcome to the Magnus Robot Fighter channel, where we expose the evils of robotics and artificial intelligence and related technologies. All right, guys. Well, I've been meaning to talk about this um, Neuralink implant that Elon Musk came up with for a while now. And a good buddy of mine, Alex K, had sent me some links to some interesting videos about Neuralink. But I wanted to read a recent article about it. Unfortunately, I can't do that because the video will run too long, and YouTube is preventing me from posting, the video in its entirety because just reading the article itself apparently takes too long. So I could just show you what stood out to me, and it's an article from Scientific American. It's from September 2nd. Okay, so very, very recent article. And in a sense, it's sort of, while it's criticizing Musk in a way, a way that, people would really take very seriously. Um, in a way, it's downplaying the significance of the technology itself. So, it seems to me that that's sort of purposeful, and you should consider that. So, anyway, Elon Musk pig brain implant is still a long way from solving paralysis, but it's very close to making us into robots. So, these are the kind of things that you have to consider about this technology. Okay, so his startup, Neuralink, is not the first to develop a wireless brain implant, but the considerable resources behind the effort could help commercialize the technology faster. Okay, so that's part of the whole operation, is to commercialize the technology faster by making people, you know, want to buy this thing, creating the desire in people to want this thing. And there's going to be a multitude of reasons why people might want this technology, despite the fact that it may totally rewire their minds. So, the beginning of the article, they talk about Neuralink, latest version of this, and about how it was implanted in pigs. And right off the bat, I already have a problem with animal testing and the sort of suffering and pain that is inflicted upon animals during this testing and experiments that are done on animals, despite the fact that it can help so many people, the research can help so many people. And there's a lot of people who say, I don't care how many animals have to suffer and die and all this kind of stuff, just because I want my loved one to be cured or stay alive or whatever it is. That's the way these people feel about it. And, who are we to deny that to these people? But there's reasons why to deny people their psychopathic, behavior, because, their, emotions are on override. Okay. So, they describe the device here. They show a picture of it, but I just want to read to you, the things that stood out to me the most. Okay. And here it says the idea is that these signals can be used to one day do things as restore movement to people who are paralyzed or create a visual prosthesis for blindness. Okay, so in this in itself, in a world, in a reality, in a universe where dualities happen, okay, for whatever they do that's so positive, and then naturally they're going to sell you on all the positive aspects of these things. They're never going to reveal any of the dark possibilities that the technology will lead to. Okay, so if it could restore movement to people who are paralyzed or create a visual prosthesis for blindness, well, that means it can do the opposite as well. Okay, everything that gives rise to its exact opposite in this reality. That's how duality works. Okay, you create this one really great thing. Well, naturally, if that exists, its opposite also has to exist. There is no other way. Okay, this is how things work. Okay, so if it could, restore movement to people, it could restrict movement to people. If it could create a visual prosthesis for blindness, it can make you blind. Okay, so just think about it in those terms. Okay, so he's talking about the pigs and the sensories. They can you know show the connection between the brain and the implant by its ability to sense the animal's thoughts, essentially. So here it is. Here's the implant right here. It's the size of a quarter there. It has a ribbon cable on it. And they're talking about how in the future, with more development, it'll be less invasive. So that's the idea, to get it to a point where it's less invasive. Right now, they have like helmets that can detect your brain waves and whatnot now, but you know, it's a different, the interface is not quite as good as that directly implanted onto the brain. So it says here, the company's goal, Musk said in the demo, is to solve important spine and brain problems with a seamlessly implanted device, a far cry from his previously stated, much more fantastic aim of allowing humans to merge with artificial intelligence. This time, Musk seemed more circumspect about the device's application, as before he insisted the demonstration was purely intended as a recruiting event to attract potential staff. Okay, well, that may be entirely true, but you have to think about these things in these terms. Technology has a way of, as it progresses, as speeding up faster and faster as it approaches its end result. Okay, this is what they're not telling you. And apparently, the person who wrote this article is all for this kind of technology, because there's no mention of any sort of dark side to it or anything like that. They're not exploring those reasons or anything. Scientific American is far too conservative to go down that conspiracy route. Just expected that all these people are going to act in our own interest, and for us, on our behalf, and everything is hunky dory. But you're telling me that this technology can't be hacked or anything like that. So I don't know, but they're talking about previous people working on these experiments with the link, brain implant, link, data transplant implants, and they've been experimenting with it for years, and they're talking about the data bandwidth, etc., and it's calling it here iPhone, a prototype of the iPhone, or a Fitbit for the brain. And there are a whole bunch of refinements that need to be done in terms of the surgery, the device itself, a wireless range, data transfer, and so on, says Siobhan Zillis, a project director at Neuralink. There are so many optimizations that have to happen in between the prototype and the thing you are super duper proud of, that you want to show consumers as your first product. Okay, so consumers, very important aspect to this is who is going to consume this. You know, so the U.S. Food and Drug Administration recently granted Neuralink a breakthrough device designation, which, you know, the FDA is, more or less putting their blessing on it. Yeah, do all these animal experiments and whatnot, hurt all these animals and make them crippled, because monkeys don't get crippled on their own, folks. You don't say there's a crippled monkey or something like that. Monkeys have a tendency to be so agile. You can't believe how agile they are. They're not breaking their arms. They're purposely busting these animals up and creating all this suffering. And it's absolutely disgusting, like Joseph Mengele type a level of vibration there in the universe. Okay, So they're talking about other companies and including the U.S. government's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency is developing one potentially capable of recording signals from tens of thousands of neurons. The project aims to restore communication to people with paralysis who have lost the ability to speak or type. Again, they're going to sell you on all these great things, okay? But whatever it's telling you it can solve, it can also do the opposite, okay? It can create these things, these problems. Okay, that's the other side of this. I mean, it's real easy to see. It's pretty much, this sort of common sense kind of thing if you really think about it a bit. Okay, but that's the whole idea. Musk has previously compared the process to LASIK eye surgery, so it's nothing to get these implants. How easy and simple and how wonderful it is, and this is how they're going to sell it to people. Okay. I can't read the whole article because it takes too long, but I just wanted to bring these things to you because you have to think about it. These things, and people will be begging for it because people will have some sort of personality disorders or whatever, and these implants are going to be able to rewire people's minds. I mean, essentially creating completely different people than who they are and who their whole life experience is made of them, or whatever, for good or for bad, or whatever it is. But recreating completely artificial personalities by rewiring these people's brains. And what is the Department of Defense using it for? To create better soldiers. Okay, there will be people be begging for them to get rid of their ugly habits, whether it be alcoholism, drug habits, gambling, whatever, anger issues or whatever. That these implants are going to say to be able to be cured, but in essentially they'll be rewiring people's minds and creating sort of cyborg, biological android type creatures or something like that. Okay, so these are the kind of things you have to consider. Okay, once that implant is in there, they can really do anything they want to you, and including make better soldiers. Rewire people's minds to think in certain ways that go along with whatever the overarching ideas are of a society. You have to remember this. A famous lady psychologist, I forget her name, said, what is to be said about a person who is well adjusted in a sick society? So, what is quote unquote normal in our society? If our society is one of these sick societies, which I believe it is, to be well adjusted in a society like this is to be sick yourself and sort of enabling it to be exactly what it is and how it's it's symbiotic or parasitic relationship there. And we're doing it of free will because we believe in all of these things, and our we're brainwashed by the advertising and the gimmicks and all that kind of stuff and all the ease of things that it will create for us and all these good things that they're going to sell us on. But unfortunately, they're going to use it for nefarious purposes, or somebody will, or they will claim they're just helping you out or whatever it is, and it'll all be, very nefarious. All right. So anyway, I didn't want to make a long video here so I'd be able to publish it. And I just wanted you to think about all these things, okay? They're going to go in there and rewire your mind, okay, and do whatever it is they want to do to it. And, people will be willing taking these implants and saying how wonderful they are, and God only knows what it's going to do to them. All right. So, anyway, guys, think about it. I'll leave a link to this article so you can read it yourself. But you can see they're sort of downplaying it or whatever, but maybe that's intentional. I don't know. You have to think about these things, okay, when you're looking at this sort of technology. And it's very evil, folks. Very, very evil. Do we need it? Probably not. But will we want it? Sure, with a lot of brainwashing and advertising, we're going to. Okay, so anyway, think about it, and I'll be back with the video with you with the new video ASAP. All right, guys. Anyway, signing out. Peace.